Let's talk about the 6 things that I like about the 2021 1290 Super Adventure lineup. What's up, my biker friends, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk about 6 things that I like about the 2021 1290 Super Adventure lineup. That includes the S model that's sitting right behind me, but also the R model. I used to own the S model for just over 3 years and I put almost 50,000 kilometers on that bike. I now just bought a 2020 R model of the predecessor. I've ridden the S model as well as the R model of the 2021 lineup. These are the 6 things that I really like about the bike. So one of the first things that drew me to this type of motorcycle, to the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S, when I very first rode it, was the engine. The brute power of the engine. The engine is an absolute powerhouse. 160 horsepower, almost 140 Newton meters of torque. If you're coming from any other motorcycle, this will still impress you very, very much. It's incredible how much power it actually develops, how linear the power and delivery is of that engine. And it's actually useful in any kind of scenario. If you're riding up and down mountain passes, if you want to take the bike to the track or just go really fast on the Autobahn just to get from point A to point B, this motor will definitely deliver. Also, looking at the current lineup of big bore adventure bikes, there really is no rival to this big V-twin engine at the moment. Ducati used to have a V-twin engine and it was almost equally as powerful as this one here, but they've now recently changed with their latest iteration to a 4-cylinder V4 engine. And I haven't ridden the bike yet, but I would assume that a 4-cylinder engine is not going to produce the same amount of torque like this V2 engine will do. Now, we also know there's BMW as basically the #1 selling bike in the big bore adventure category. It develops a good amount of torque down under, but to the upper ref ranges, it kind of loses power, especially as compared to this bike. So if you're looking for the most powerful adventure bike that you can get that has good low end torque, really, this is the only option you've got. So the next thing I want to talk about is actually the versatility that this lineup of bike has. We're talking the biggest adventure bikes you can buy on the market at the moment. There's 2 different versions. There's the S version that has a more street bias, and of course there's the R version that has more of an off-road bias. So between the two, the ranges that you cover in versatility is unmatched by any other manufacturer at the moment. We know that BMW has basically 2 different types of motorcycles of the 1250 GS. It's the standard GS and there's an adventure GS, but they share the same wheel sizes, and only the suspension travel has been increased by 20 millimeters, and the rest is just an increased tank and additional protection that differentiates the adventure from the normal 1250 GS. And if you look at these 2 bikes, the difference is suspension and different wheel sizes. So this makes this lineup of motorcycles, the R version of this, the only motorcycle with 160 horsepower and a 21-inch front wheel. Now the suspension system, that's quite interesting too, because this motorcycle here has a semi-active suspension, very much like the BMW GS or the Multistrada from Ducati. And the semi-active suspension system is really awesome, especially for road riding. At the click of a button, you get to change all the settings on this motorcycle, and it's awesome. When it comes to off-road riding, the manual suspension, the higher spec suspension that the R model offers, it gives you a lot more adjustability. It's all manual, but you also get a higher spec suspension system that is much better suited for off-road riding, which I experienced on riding the R model for a full day. And that is also the reason why I actually switched from the S to the R model. And it's nice to have that option if you want to take a big bike like this off-road and do proper off-road riding. KTM actually offers something that is really suited for off-road riding, unlike any of the other competitors on the market. Now the next thing I want to talk about is actually the handling. Now the handling has improved, especially compared to the predecessor, and has moved a lot closer to what you may experience, let's say, on a BMW 1250 GS, which has excellent low-speed handling due to the two-cylinder inline engine, and it carries the weight much lower in the frame. They've tried to achieve something similar with the split tank design. They also changed the geometry on the bike a little bit. So I could definitely tell when I was riding the R model that the handling, the slow-speed handling has really improved, noticeably improved. And I could also tell on the R model here that the handling has improved. Riding this bike actually feels like you're riding a much lighter motorcycle. This is still a 240 kilogram motorcycle, but when you sit at it and you ride it, it feels like it weighs less than 200 kilograms. It's quite amazing, and it's also good for road riding to have good handling like this. It's less intimidating when you ride it, and I think that's a huge improvement, especially over the predecessor. The next thing that really impressed me on this motorcycle is what they've done with the seat height. Now both models, the S and the R version, have lower seat heights. There's only 1 centimeter less seat height, but when you sit on it, it actually feels more like 2 or 3 centimeters. And the reason for that is that it's not just the nominal seat height from the seat to the ground, but also how wide the actual seat is. So they made the seat a bit more narrow. And the reason why that matters is because you can actually get your feet down on the ground a lot better, especially as compared to the previous model. So like I said, it feels more like 2 to 3 centimeters on each of these bikes compared to this respective predecessor. Now if I sit on this bike now on the S model, I thought I was already in this lowest setting, but then I found there's an even lower setting in the seat, which I tried out, and it's actually the first time that on a big adventure bike the lowest setting is actually too low for me on this particular motorcycle. This is very good news for riders that are not as tall. And if I had to compare it to the BMW 1250 GS, which I also rode a few times in the past years, I would say the seat height, the perceived seat height at least, is probably lower on the KTM, just straight from the factory. So if you've been unsure about the seat height, especially on these KTMs, this is a major improvement over the predecessor. So if you haven't tried it yet and you're looking at a bike like this, try it out for yourself and see, you'll be impressed. One of my favorite topics, if you have seen my initial review on the 1250 Super Adventure S that I did on my bike after 2 years, there weren't really many things I was complaining about. There was one thing though that annoyed me a little bit. Now this bike is rated for 250 kilometers an hour. It's got a 160 horsepower engine. So you expect a bike like this to go fast. Well, the problem that KTM had since the 1190 on these bikes is with this chassis and the suspension that it comes with, that it had high-speed wobble issues. Not everyone experienced issues like this, but a lot of people have. So have I. On my bike, there were days when I couldn't go a whole lot faster than 200 kilometers an hour. Now these things depend quite a bit on wind condition, on the kind of clothing and gear. If you're wearing loose gear, that matters. If there's turbulence, the tire pressure, how well the tires are balanced. There's many factors that go into play here. But irrespective of all that, you expect the bike to go fast, and it didn't in all cases. Now, of course, I was very keen when I got the S model, the latest iteration of the S model, to take it on the Autobahn and see how fast I could actually go. So check it out for yourself. So as you can see, you can actually take it up to that speed, and the thing that you can't see in the videos is actually relatively stable. You still see a lot of shake because there's still this turbulence, of course, but it's not coming from the chassis. It is actually coming from the wind. And you can go that fast. How long you can go with it, that's really up to you, but at least the bike isn't the problem anymore. And last but not least is the electronic package that you get with this motorcycle. This is the state-of-the-art electronics that you can get on a modern motorcycle at this time. And the most important feature are actually the safety features. So it's got the state-of-the-art ABS system that includes quartering ABS. I really like that on the predecessor. This is the next iteration of that. It's got traction control, this time even with an option. It's the rally package where you can actually set the traction control in different increments. It actually saves the settings. So a lot of the stuff has improved, and it's going to make the ride a little better. Also, there's a lot more adjustability when it comes to fine-tuning your suspension settings. It isn't just clicking a ride mode, but you can basically tune the suspension systems to your liking. There's a bit more customization that is now possible. So they've really expanded on that, and that's something that I really like and appreciate on this motorcycle. And best of all of this comes in a package. There's very few things that you still need to upgrade. I know with some of the other manufacturers that you have to buy extra packages and extra upgrades in order to get sort of the full range of everything that the electronics can deliver. The one thing I would suggest you do is get the quick shifter, and some of the other stuff is really just optional things that you can get. So it comes with all the stuff that is good and great to have on this motorcycle. Anyway, guys, this is it for this video. If you have comments, leave them in the comment section. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, ride safe and stay awesome.